Welcome, impactful parents. It's Question Answer Live, and today we're going to talk about screen or cell phone addiction in our teens and tweens. So, if you don't know, my name is Christina. I come on here every week and I answer one of your questions live right here. So, if you have a question for me for next week, please submit it. You can submit your question, which is anonymous, to either theimpactfulparent@gmail.com, or you can just direct message me on social media. But let's get to our question. Now, screen addiction is real. And today's Question and Answer Live is, what are some signs of being addicted to the cell phone? What is too much screen time? And how to manage screen time with a teenager? Thank you for this question. Whoever submitted it, this is a great topic and one really needed to talk about. Before I begin, I want to preface it a few things because first of all, today's answer is going to sound really negative because the question revolves around the negative effects of cell phone use. Now, although that's our content's focus, I don't believe that technology is all bad. Technology does have some major benefits that our young people could benefit from when they use appropriately. And because this is such an important topic, it's not going to go away. Technology is here to stay. So it's so important that parents learn how to navigate teaching their child appropriate technology use so that they can then teach their child appropriate technology use and so forth, because again, it's not going away. This is a real issue that our kids need to learn about. Now, there is an undeniable correlation between the decline of adolescent mental health since the influx of cell phones to our newer generation. More teens are depressed, and there has been an increase in suicide attempts that we can't ignore that kind of get correlated with technology and these happenings. So this is a very real issue. Now, ironically, despite the fact that we can connect with anyone in the world in like seconds, most people still report that they are lonelier than they have ever been before. So this just shows that our connections with others via Snapchat or text messaging, like your teen is most likely to interact with their friends, is also very shallow. Our young people are missing that interpersonal connection with their peers that they really need, and they don't know that they need it. You cannot replace the connection between an in-person interaction, but even voice-to-voice contact, like an actual phone call, is much better than text messages. Now, the lack of connection with their peers and your child's behavior may not necessarily be their fault. There's two huge problems that I see have happened that have changed things in the last 30 years from connecting with their peers that maybe we didn't have as we were children growing up. The first is that parents aren't letting their kids get out anymore. Gone are the days of letting your child run around the neighborhood and explore. Come back before dinner and just be careful was a norm when I was growing up, but it is not in today's city living. Now, our intentions as parents to keep our children safe is valid. That's why we don't have them running around the city anymore. But that doesn't mean that it isn't coming with some repercussions. Now, the second reason why this may not be your child's fault is really important. So please listen up. There is a real competition when it comes to social media and websites and your child. You see, each website online is competing for your child's attention, or your attention too if you're online. The goal of YouTube or Pinterest and Google and Facebook and Instagram and Snapchat, all the social media platforms, are to keep you on their website as long as possible. And to do that, the internet algorithms keep track of what you watch, what you share, what you like, what you save. Then the algorithms provide you with more similar content so that you stay on their channel and engaged and happy. The owner of each website is rewarded even when you stay with them and watch their content. Even me. The more you share my videos, push that like button, watch my videos to the very end, or save my posts, the more the algorithms will like me and push my content to more people who also watch similar videos. So that's why I want that. I want you to push that like button. I want you to watch my video to the end. I want to have a bigger reach to reach more parents. Websites will also keep you engaged by using researched, attracting techniques like bright colors or NonStop Entertainment. I mean, have you noticed that now there's video after video without any breaks? It just goes from one to another to another. And you see this similar on YouTube. You see it on Facebook. They don't give you any downtime to change the channel. And Snapchat even gives its users reward points for each post and interaction it has with others. It makes their engagement on that platform a game and kids wanting more. So as you can see, this nonstop stimulation of the things that kids love causes an increase in their dopamine levels in their brain. Now, dopamine is that chemical in your brain that makes us feel happy. So when you stop looking at the screen, the dopamine levels drop, making you want more. Kids then find themselves in this cycle of wanting more and more dopamine to stay happy. And that is how addiction starts. So you can see that screen addiction is not entirely your child's fault, because in some respects, they're actually victims of a system that lures them in. So how do we know when our child has crossed that tipping point from regular cell phone use to addiction? Let's get to our question, okay? I'm going to give you several signs of cell phone addiction use. The first one is sleep disturbances. Insomnia is common with screens because of that constant stimulation. This is a real problem and it needs to be addressed, and I'm going to talk about that a little bit following. The second sign is anxiety and irritability in your teen due to withdrawal. So you have to actually ask yourself, is my child craving the dopamine levels? Is that why they don't want to get off of their phone? Another sign of cell phone addiction is feelings of loneliness. Again, this goes back to your child not having true, authentic, good communication on their cell phone. They're sticking to either text messaging or something so superficial that they're still feeling lonely. Another sign of cell phone addiction is feelings of needing those likes on their posts that they put up in order to feel validated. Now, this is a much bigger issue than I'm going to get into today, but it definitely needs to be addressed. And you should be aware as a parent that if your child needs to have those likes and needs to have those comments in order to really have their self-worth, then there's a problem there. Another sign of cell phone addiction is feelings of missing out when they aren't on their phones consistently. And I see this one a lot in our schools. It usually manifests itself in needing to be on that cell phone. When they're driving, when they're eating, they have to have it on. Not have it, but literally be monitoring it because they're afraid of missing out on something. And lastly, another sign of cell phone addiction is loss of interest in other activities. So they don't want to be interactive or engage in other things outside of their phone. Let's get to question number 2. How much is too much screen time? Okay, experts say that teens should be active. That means up and moving their body at least 15 minutes for every hour of screen time that you give them. And the recommended time frame of screen per day for a teenager is roughly 2 hours. Now, whether you take that suggestion from the experts or not, at the very minimum, my own personal suggestion is to turn off screens. That means video games, television, or a phone at least 1 hour before bedtime. The reason for this is that it takes about that long to desensitize from the screen stimulation and allow your child's body to relax so that they actually can fall asleep. So this is where a lot of the insomnia happens. Our third question today: what can parents do to manage their child's screen time? I'm going to give you 3 tips. The first one, tip 1, talk to your child about the impact of technology use and screens like I did for you today right here. You can even show them this video or other similar videos that are available. Sometimes kids don't want to hear the facts from you, but they are more receptive if they can hear them from somebody else or another technology expert. Tip number 2, teach your child to be intentional with their time on their phone. And that is usually done by limiting their screen time with something. And the easiest way to do that is with available apps. There's several apps out there that parents can purchase that monitor electronics. I use an app called Qustodio. It's Qustodio. I use it in my own home with my 4 children. But there are several other similar apps out there that can be easily Googled and installed in your child's devices. These apps can do a lot that you may not realize. They can limit the times a day your child can access their phone. They could limit particular apps if you don't want them like Snapchat particularly. They can limit the time duration your child can use their device. So you can actually say they can have 2 hours of time and that's it. And then your child gets to decide how to use that 2 hours of screen time. It could block explicit content. It could block particular apps. There's a lot that they can do. So research these apps out there and pick one that's the most appropriate for your family. And then tip number 3, intentionally create some screen-free space and times in your child's day for no technology. And I'm not going to lie, you're going to do this on the down low. You're not going to go to your child and say, I want you to do this because it's going to get you off your phone. You can't do that. Okay. So here's what you are going to do. You're going to make some rules in your home, like no phones at the dinner table, no phones between the hour of 5 and 6 for that hour of the day, no phones while you're trying to do your homework. No phones while we're having a conversation. While you're talking to me, you're going to put down the phone and actually look at me in the eye. Those are things that you need to precedent as early as possible and continue to reinforce. Another thing that you can do is keep your child busy with scheduled activities that discourage screens, like encouraging them to participate in sports after school, going for a bike ride, actually seeing their friends in person, doing different clubs at school. But let's say, for example, you have a child that just doesn't want to do that extracurricular after school. Then it's going to be a little bit more pressure on you, but you can do this. What you're going to do is you're going to, ahead of time, think of an activity that you want to do with your child, maybe even if it's just for 30 minutes. You're going to tell them in the morning, not spontaneously at the time of the hour, but in the morning or the day before, hey, tonight we're going to go for a walk between 5 and 5:30. I need you to come with me. We're just going to go for a walk. Or I'm going to need you to come and run errands with me. And during that time, if you have one of the previous rules established, like when I'm talking to you, no phones, you're going to talk to me face-to-face, eye-to-eye, then that ends up being quality time with your child. And it also ends up being screen-free time. So you're making that time intentionally for your child without saying, this is what we're doing. It ends up being really effective. Really sincerely try it. I do it all the time. Another thing that you can do is challenge your child to go on a digital fast, whether it's for an hour or you can increase that to a day or even a week. And this is a really great challenge. You're going to have to reward your child for their no screen efforts. And it might be with something bigger that gives them the incentive to not have their screen. But it's going to teach them, one, that how difficult is it for you to put down that phone? Maybe you're more addicted to your phone than you thought you were. And if already you've had this discussion, it can be very powerful. Another thing it could do is just let you see how difficult it is for your child to put down the phone, whether it's for the hour, the day, or the week. And if it is really, really difficult, then you know that you probably have a teen that does have some cell phone addiction. And the next thing you can do is encourage your child to talk to their friends on the phone. If you see them texting, encourage them. Wait a second, stop texting. Will you just call your friend? And you have to encourage them because they're not going to do it on their own. Kids go with the simplest thing and the thing that they know most, which is texting at the moment. And you need to actually tell them to pick up the phone. It's going to give them that more interpersonal interaction that they need, that they crave. And over time, if they do it consistently, they're going to find that they like it more anyway. But to get started, you're going to have to really encourage it. And lastly, you have to model good technology use yourself. If you don't practice what you preach, then your child will never listen to you. You must also be willing to abide by the rules that you're creating in your home. So just to recap, technology use and limitation has to start with a conversation with your child. You really should reward your child for behaviors that you want to see and do this consistently. If your child puts down the phone for even 15 minutes more than they usually do, or an hour more than they usually do, in the beginning, reward them for those efforts. And then begin to increase that time little by little until it seems more seamless. I really hope that that answers your question today and helps you with cell phone addiction if you are worried about your child. But if you have a question for me for next week, please submit it. Again, you can direct message me on social media, or you can email me at theimpactfulparent@gmail.com. And until then, you got this, parents. I'm just here to help.